Okay, well, we've got a few people on, and I know I was saying earlier, we do get a lot of people who tend to join in a little past the hour because we, maybe not so interested in the networking. We are in a bit of a time crunch today, and so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, walk through a few of the initial slides, and then I'll turn it over to our presenter, to Nancie today, who's going to walk us through some of the so many words, contact center information. So welcome. We do these calls monthly, and so they are virtual. We're excited to be planning an in-person one coming up here soon, so you'll see that in just a few minutes. We are recording. These calls are set to record right away. We tend to cut off the beginning and kind of leave it to just the content or shortly before that, but do know that we are recording the calls and they do get posted to the Doug YouTube channel, as you see here. So just be mindful of that if you tend to come off mute and start talking. Today's agenda, again, we're cutting today a little short because of timing, so networking chat is what we just did, and that's already over. Doug intro, and then Nancie's going to walk us through the world of generative AI solution, ideally around, at least I believe it's around contact center. All of these groups are all about connections. So if you are new here, we would love for you to engage in the chat. Feel free to use chat to pose questions. You use the raise hand feature if you have questions during the presentation. The whole purpose here is to foster community connection. So please leverage this opportunity. Throw your LinkedIn up. Connect with people here. I have people who I consider very, very good friends of mine that I've met because of interactions like this. So it goes a long way to fostering good connection in the community. So please leverage it for what it's worth and interact with each other as we go. Please do remain muted. If you use the raise hand feature, that's a great option because then we can call on you specifically. It can be very distracting with lots of background noise, as I'm sure we've all lived through. And so just be mindful and courteous. The respectful interaction at all times, I think, goes without being said, but we do need to say it. We do want to make sure that this is a welcoming environment for everybody who wants to be here. And that may be really talkative people, and it may be really quiet people, and that's all okay everywhere in the middle as well. And then do please join the meetup to stay connected. I'm going to have Madison talk through a few slides shortly that will give you more context on that. So on tap today, we've got Nancie Calder, who's going to talk about the contact center. So we're excited to get into that. I'll introduce Nancie in just a moment. We've got some upcoming meetings. April 10th, you can see we have Ashley Steiner coming to talk through project operations. And that to me is one of those apps that people hear about, and I think everybody's like, but does anybody actually use it? And Ashley actually has firsthand experience as a user, but also helps organizations work through the onboarding of that tool. So excited to hear her perspective on that tool. We've talked about it a couple times. She's got great insights about it. She's going to be joined by a colleague, but I didn't catch his name. So she's going to have a co-presenter there. We do have a few requests out to people for the May session, but yet to fill that. So if you are here and you're like, oh, I could present to this group, or I have a topic I'd love to see or hear, we would love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out and let us know, and we could either put you in there and have your beautiful face there and excited to draw people to your session, or we can start pursuing speakers to align with topics you're interested in. Big, exciting bottom left corner, June 16th and 17th. We had the first Doug regional meetup last year in Canada. Huge success, great turnout, and we're excited to expand that to a second day and start to share the wealth with even more people. So we're really looking forward to that session. You'll get more information on that shortly. And then fast forward all the way to September because, summer in Canada is like this long. So we take the summers off to enjoy them, and then we'll be back in September. And again, seeking presentations there. These are a few of the different communities that exist. Some of them are within the Doug context. Some of them are just random communities. In the spirit of fostering connection across all community, we like to make this slide available and just make you aware of other groups. If you're interested in any of these, a quick Google search, or sorry, Bing search would probably be best. And so you should find them with ease. Lots of great people running these kinds of groups all over the world, frankly. So great opportunities for connection there. And if you have ideas, as I mentioned, if you're like, well, how do I get them to you? You can scan this code and submit a very brief, takes like 3 minutes to fill in a questionnaire just around what is it that you want to learn. It's either what would you like to present or what would you like to hear. Both are very valuable, so feel free to use that to send us ideas if there's things that you're interested. And if you're the presenter, great, and we'll work with you to work toward that. If you're like, I kind of want to present, but I'm super scared to, please still submit. Let us know that you're like a little nervous about it. I myself or somebody else, we'd be happy to co-present with you. We'll share the load. We'll help you build the presentation, get it to a place where you can share it. You don't need to overthink it. It doesn't need to be 90 minutes. It can be 30 minutes, a quick overview and some discussion on something. If you want to break that ice and get into the world of presenting, we would love to help foster that within you. So please reach out if you're interested. If you're a seasoned speaker and you've got ideas, by all means, please hit us up and let us know. Okay, I'll stop. Madison, over to you to talk through a few, and I'll just kind of work through.
Awesome. Well, it is good to see some familiar faces on this call, and some new ones as well. My name is Madison Zulowitz, and I am the event coordinator here at Doug. So I help run our local and regional meetup program, and can help answer any questions related to Doug that you may have. So if Malcolm starts talking about something or I start talking about something and you have no idea what it means, feel free to send me a Teams chat and I'd be happy to help. I'm here to talk a little bit about who Doug is. So Doug is a free community for users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft business applications. We mainly support Microsoft Dynamics 365, GP, and Power Platform community, and our goal is to help people grow personally and professionally in their careers, by hosting things like these local meetups. Our rules of engagement, essentially, we just ask that these meetups are held to be solely educational. So please, no sales pitches. We want everybody to come here and be able to learn something and not be sold something. Doug or Dynamics User Group, we have multiple different free platforms. So we have an online open discussion, we have webinars, local meetups like this one, as well as regional meetups, which are just a little bit larger in scope. We have conferences, a team up program, a YouTube channel like Nancie and Malcolm had mentioned, where local meetups like this one get posted to YouTube. So if you were ever curious about what is being talked about around the world, we have tons and tons of local meetup groups, and all of the virtual ones get posted to YouTube. So I'd highly encourage you to check that out. We have our 2025 regional meetups. We actually just changed the branding on this. So now they are going to be called DynamicsCon Regionals. So if you see the changing on it, it's just that we had a bit of a brand change, but they are the same event. So essentially it's just a little bit larger in scope than our local meetups. These are usually full day to 2-day events. We will offer breakfast, lunch. We usually have a happy hour at the end of the day. So it's a great day for networking, and we'll have multiple different breakout rooms that talk about, that each have separate educational sessions throughout the day. So it's a really, really great way to network with people in your community, and gain some free education. And these are all free events. So we just had our Northeast Regional one in Philadelphia yesterday. As Malcolm and Nancie mentioned, we're going to Canada June 16th and 17th for a 2-day event, Africa in July. And you can go to the next slide. We are going to Denver in August, Ohio in August, Europe in September, Texas in September, and we're going back to Tampa in January of 2026. So very busy year, and always open to hearing where you want Doug to go in 2026. So if you have any ideas, please send them our way. We're always looking to expand. We have our largest conference of the year, our 2025 DynamicsCon, coming up very, very soon, May 13th through the 16th. This is a multi-day event. We will have tons and tons of educational sessions, lots of networking opportunities. I'm sure that everybody who has been can share a lot more insight and excitement around DynamicsCon, but it is a huge event. I think we have, oh gosh, I just checked it this morning. It was like 1,000, maybe 162 attendees already. So it's a very large event. And we're looking forward to hopefully meeting and seeing all of you there. And we have a code right now going on for all of our Meetup members. We're offering 15% off of your ticket for DynamicsCon. You can use that code Meetup15 if you're interested in coming. And that is all for me. I'll pass it over to Nancie, but if any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. So yeah, Nancie, you're on mute, but when you're ready.
That would help. Okay, let me screen share. Window or tab. Window. There. Hopefully you're seeing my presentation.
Yep, we see it.
Right? Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nancie Calder. I've recently been awarded MVP in customer service, and I'm very passionate about all things related to service. In our world of CRM, you know, we have marketing and sales. The service piece, just for me, impacts everybody in their day-to-day lives. You know, many of us don't interact as much with salespeople and marketers as we do with people who are working in a contact center, or you know, people who are coming to our homes or businesses in terms of a field service person. So I work for Avanade. I'm based here in Toronto. I am a senior vice president responsible for the global CRM practice. And I would just like to take a few seconds here to dedicate this talk to a fellow Avanader who passed away this week. He was a dear friend, Tim Relke. Very sad to see him succumb to the critical illness. He was not an old man, put it that way. He, yeah, anyway, my heart goes out to his family. Okay, so on to, thank you for that, letting me do that moment. On to, you know, Doug. I am a Doug Meetup leader. I work in the cross-product areas, meaning I lead 2 virtual groups. One is for mentorship, where we're trying to help people understand they can have a great career in Dynamics and Power Platform, and try to foster that that career progression. And the other one is we looked at from a cross-product perspective. We originally called it Enterprise Excellence, but we didn't want to be non-inclusive and wanted to open it up. It's not just for enterprises, but anybody who's talking about things related to implementation and post-implementation and adoption and change management and like the full life cycle. How do you keep the system evergreen with all these new releases that Microsoft has coming out? So we have those 2 meetups, and a shameless plug here as I advance my slides. Talking and interacting with the computer, not my great strengths these days. So the mentorship program itself, we have the monthly meetup. If you look for it on Meetup, it'll show up on the Denver area map. The next session is on March 20th, and it's all about your personal brand. So we have these monthly topics that help us, again, advance people's careers. In addition to that, we run a program where we match mentees and mentors. We're going to be looking for new mentee applicants coming up in the next 6 weeks or so. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. We have many people from Canada who are mentors. Thank you for participating in our mentorship program. We'd love to have more mentees. Our next Doug Manager and Admin meetup is on March 27th. That'll be, you know, another interesting one. I think we're focusing on AI, and the last one we had, Will was actually there. He did a little bit on what his favorite tools are for AI, and he showed us the perspective of, as a developer or as just a consumer of AI in my day-to-day consulting practice or working with Dynamics and Power Platform, how can I improve my productivity? So the next session on March 27th will be focused on, essentially, as a developer, how can you use AI to improve your day-to-day work? All right, without further ado, let's move on and talk about what we're here about today, contact center. it's new to many of us, but very familiar to us by the same token. This is of anything that clients want to talk to me about now, it's all about how do I use Copilot to improve my metrics in my contact center. So that's what I want to walk you through here today. We have quite a few topics to cover. We're going to talk about contact center. What does it mean from a Microsoft perspective? We're going to get into some details about AI, talk in general about areas where, as CRM practitioners, we may not be as familiar. So we'll get to that. We'll talk about some case studies. And then I'm really excited to, although I've only got a few minutes at the end, introduce you to the agentic capability. If you're interacting with Microsoft at all of late, it's not just about Copilot anymore, but it's about agents, not to confuse with contact center agents, but agents that can run autonomously and leverage generative AI for us. So let's start with an introduction to Dynamics Contact Center. And why did Microsoft do what they did? They saw a $19 billion total addressable market. And if we look over, see if I learned a new trick here and can do this. Oh, it's not lighting up my, anyway, over here in this top right quadrant, if you look at Gartner, we don't see Microsoft here at this moment. Microsoft released their contact center offering, their standalone contact center offering last July. So they're working towards bringing out and doing the work with Gartner and other industry analysts to get into this quadrant. So you can see that Microsoft is here from a CRM perspective, but actively moving. And that's why they bought Nuance a couple of years ago. So, there's definitely some gaps, but they're working hard to bring those forward. Now, what we're seeing in contact center generally is how customers are interacting in a different way with those that are providing them service. There's been a movement to self-serve through web pages and bots. However, the challenge has always been, and I don't know about you, if you interact with the government of Ontario, it's, consistently, you've got to choose from drop downs when you're talking with bots. It's, we've really moved to this natural language capability. And that's just been a game changer in the contact center world. So let's talk about how that's changed things for us. So, as I said, Microsoft acquired Nuance, 2 years or so ago, and they added it into their existing omni-channel customer service capability. So, if you wanted to implement contact center, you were bringing the CRM piece along, the case management piece along. And I don't know if any of you have, that was called DCCP, Digital Contact Center Platform. I don't know if any of you tried to discuss that with clients, but we were doing really unnatural things when they just wanted to replace Genesys. They might have Genesys hooked up to something like Salesforce or ServiceNow on the back end for their CRM. Well, they didn't want to replace their CRM. So we were trying to put contact center omni-channel in with CRM and integrating it with their other CRM. It became very expensive and very confusing to clients, and they just didn't understand why. So voila, Microsoft said, we're going to decouple these things. And it was just at the perfect moment because generative AI was just coming on the scene. And now we have generative AI-driven customer service and contact center. So you can see here on the screenshot that they're showing Salesforce, the little cloud in the background that gets under our skin all the time. But now we're able to put contact center in with Salesforce. We actually at Avanade, we have it running with Salesforce in the back end, and we have it running with ServiceNow in the back end, and it's quite a good experience. You can reliably talk to customers about it. If I was you, I'd be feeling comfortable. It's not vaporware. Can I go to the next? Sorry, trying to get to my next slide.
There you go.
All right. Can we see the screen again? Okay,
Looks
so
good.
we've got all these agent experience, or all these different contact center capabilities now, and we can connect them reliably to third-party apps. That's what I wanted to show you here. The other thing I want to demystify, and I don't hear it as much these days, I think Microsoft is rethinking their approach to Copilot for, like Copilot for sales, Copilot for finance, Copilot for service. I think we might be seeing something new coming up, but just in case you were aware, Copilot for service is not the same thing as Copilot in Dynamics customer service. So there's some screenshots here, and really to put it in perspective, think of Copilot for service as that Microsoft Outlook add-in almost for service people who are interacting with Outlook, whereas Copilot in customer service is embedded right within your agent desktop as, you know, sidebar or other sort of summary features. It's right, as it says, right within Dynamics. Any questions or comments so far? I'm not monitoring the chat, so shout it out if there's something I need to.
There were some in the chat just about it, but I'm confident you're going to touch on some of it. So we'll kind of review when you get to toward the end.
Okay. So key features. What it's doing is delivering effortless self-service. So it's not creating the website, like as in the Power Pages website, but it's the V next of what we would have known as Power Virtual Agents delivered through Copilot Studio. So delivering self-service. It's delivering agent assistance right in line. I don't know if any of you have been using the Copilot features to, I don't think I write any emails now myself. I just put a couple of lines in and I let Copilot do it for me right within Outlook. It's the same kind of thing. Really, the thing that really gets me excited more than the emails and the summaries that it does is what it can do with the knowledge base. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then, you know, from an administrative perspective, all the new reporting and capability that helps supervisors is tremendous. You know, if you can hear it. You hearing anything?
We cannot. No.
You know what? It's mostly music, so I'm gonna run it. And
Can you just hum the tune for us? No.
Pardon me?
Can you just hum the tune for us?
Yeah. No, you wouldn't want me to do that.
My new tent is broken. Is it still under warranty?
Your Trailmaster X4 is covered for 90 days. Do you need to start a return?
Maybe I just need help setting it up.
Sure thing. Let me connect you to an agent.
Yeah, that part was important. So she was just talking naturally, and it was interacting with the AI, and the AI was coming back to give her a suggestion, and essentially then the AI is saying, I better route you to an agent. So let me keep going here.
We can kind of hear it. It's just coming through your mic.
So we're going to talk about this video anyway. The key points to take away from that video, regardless of not hearing the music, is that what contact center, Dynamics Contact Center is doing is meeting customers where they are. And we've always talked about things like that. Like we've long been at the forefront of delivering personalized experiences, but this takes it to another level with the language of choice. Even, what's relevant for us in Canada is being able to interact in English and French and back and forward. I mean, there's lots of other non-official languages being spoken in Canada today. So it's really, helpful to manage your contact center by, maybe somebody is English, but the person that's typing is speaking German, and it will automatically translate it for you back and forth. The agent responds in English and it goes back to German. So, super options. We do a lot of global implementation, so the language thing is a great selling feature when we talk to clients. The fact that Copilot can now make suggestions helps agents make decisions in real time, which is, again, I don't know how many organizations I speak with, maybe you have the same experience. They have a lot of attrition with agents. It's a hard job. And if you really don't know how to answer the client's questions confidently, it can make it even harder. You're probably getting people yelling at you or just feel like you're incompetent because you can't help them at all. I'm going to talk a little bit later about another client, and essentially the agents always, they couldn't get the information fast enough to help their clients. So they were sending, go back to the store where you bought the product. So that doesn't feel good for either side, either the agent or the customer. So, helping agents with knowledge is key here. And for supervisors, as I said, the analytics are tremendous, particularly where they can start seeing trends. They can understand trends by intent and understand if I'm a contact center, maybe in Toronto, I think it was a number of years ago, we had some flooding, and the contact center for an insurance company would have been getting all kinds of calls about, flooded basements, that sort of thing. So this would give them an idea of what's trending, and then they could go ahead and make changes to their outbound messages so that they could route people different ways. So, very interesting for supervisors as well. And, we saw, like I stopped the video there, making sure that the AI can do very routine things. We get customers asking us, can it do intake? Can it actually create a new customer or a new person calling in? It can take that data, it can understand it, create a contact within whichever CRM you have on the back end. And it's really starting to free up agents to focus on the matter at hand and do something more interesting and not so rote. Did I cover the stuff, Malcolm, or do I need to keep, should I keep going, or do you want to stop?
Let me look back and see. I think you've covered most of it. The primary question, I'll read them off. You can kind of decide what exactly included with contact center, which I think is kind of the gist of the whole presentation. Does it need Dataverse? Is it model-driven? Is it a model-driven app? What's included within the solution? And can it be compared to D365 customer service? So parts of that is kind of what you're alluding to in general. Robert's got his hand up. That was him who posted the chat.
Yeah.
So
So it is Dataverse based. It doesn't keep its data anywhere else. So you do have to install Dataverse alongside the, whatever connector you're using on the back end for Salesforce or ServiceNow.
Right. I guess that's kind of like the crux of my question is comparing and contrasting the SKU for contact center by itself, vanilla contact center connected with Salesforce or whatever other CRM. Like that's the interesting part, is it can work with any CRM, right? So I'm assuming this might be too technical. Like I'm wondering, like, are they using virtual tables, right? But like really what it is about is from a SKU perspective, when you have Dynamics 365 customer service, I'm assuming you're getting everything that's in D365 Contact Center, plus you don't need to connect it to another CRM, basically. Like, is that?
Well, there's different SKUs now. Like
right?
there's SKUs just for contact center, and there's different levels of SKUs for customer service, but we'd have to have a Microsoft licensing person. I can't remember all the details behind that. But essentially, I mean, think about it like if you were going to implement Genesis standalone, right? Genesis has its own capability, its own database, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I work primarily with call centers. Like that's kind of my primary client that I'm working with most of the time. And so we normally, you know, we've always recommended D365 customer service, right? And there have always been integrations that you like you alluded to, like, oh, we always have to integrate and so on and so forth, right? So now it's like, okay, now we have the decision when we're going to a client, having those conversations. When do we recommend D365 customer service? When do we recommend call center? And is there anything that you can get with call center that you can't get with customer service, like with the most elevated license? Because I know with customer service, you can get the Copilot, you can get the AI-driven agents, you get the omni-channel experience for the agents with you know all of the features that we were highlighting there, and it's all, you know, in D365 in Dataverse. So
when do you go for Dynamics Contact Center? When they want to get out of Genesis, they don't want Amazon Connect anymore. You know, NICE is getting too expensive. Like if we go back to that first slide where I showed you all the contenders up in the top right corner, it's when your client wants to move away from those, but maybe they don't want to move away from Salesforce or ServiceNow today. So the strategy, I mean, I heard it from Charles Lamanna directly once, was, you know, we don't need to rip and replace everything anymore. We can do it little wedges at a time. And then we start to prove the TCO about having Microsoft, and we gradually, you know, if you could imagine an agent who really doesn't even know that they have Salesforce on the back end, they're using the contact center agent desktop. You know, why wouldn't you approach IT or whomever to say, well, let's get rid of your Salesforce. Let's put Dynamics in, because you're going to get the interoperability, and when there's changes to Salesforce, you don't have to retest all your integrations, you know, those types of things. It becomes a TCO and a value of the ecosystem conversation. And then vice versa. We have people who do not want to disrupt their Genesis at the moment, but they want to give up ServiceNow or Salesforce. I'm picking on those two because those are the two I hear the most. And it's the same thing, right? Eventually, you're going to displace Genesis. Maybe they're Genesis on-prem and they're moving to Dynamics customer service just for case management. And, oh, I'm being forced to move to the cloud. I really don't want to do that with Genesis. I'm going to look at Dynamics Contact Center. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thanks a lot. Do you know is it possible to sign up for like a free trial of Contact Center without customer service? Is that possible?
You know what? I don't know. I've been busy working on my budget to buy perpetual licenses for our team, and we have a perpetual contact center set up with customer service, with Salesforce, with ServiceNow. So I'd have to go back, Robert. I can look at the licensing if you want to reach out to me later. I can let you know how we have it set up.
Thanks so much.
No problem. Okay, I got to move along here. So again, going back to Charles Lamanna, this was a different thing, but when he announced Wave 2 last year in the fall, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I mean, Copilot's transforming the way we work, right? You're going to have the person interacting with the Copilot that has all the knowledge and data in the back end. So your UI is going to move to more of a Copilot approach. And you're going to have, so this reference to agents here is the agentic workflow. So the agentic workflow or agentic capability is having generative AI look at the situation to determine what path is best next. And it doesn't have to be all sort of, I don't want to say hard-coded business rules, but if you think about how we set up business rules, it's pretty cut and dry. Now with this agentic capability, it gives us more flexibility to not have every single item identified up front. So, I look after the capability in our organization, and I'm trying really hard to get our practice to understand, although we've done things like, we've had agent assist in the past. How do we take advantage of AI? How do we take advantage of generative AI? Our clients are asking us for that. So we have to start thinking differently. We have to start thinking that AI is going to help figure out what the intent is, and we don't have to define all the predefined topics. It's going to, suggest a topic, not only based on what's happening now, but it can go back and look at previous interactions that somebody has had. And actually, I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and they were talking about this service desk that they built, and they were quite proud about it. And they were talking about how the app that they built allows the customer to go back to the same agent over and over again so that they have familiarity. And I said to them, well, how would we do that with Dynamics? And we talked about it, and really, we don't need to have that app anymore. We're getting to the point where we want to ensure that the client doesn't have to go back to the same agent all the time. It's more efficient for the organization, and you leverage the capability of Copilot to give you a case summary, to give you a timeline summary, and it can go back over time and feed that to the agent. So they're creating the familiarity. You don't have to build a program to allow a customer to always choose the same agent. Because I'm telling you, I've worked in contact centers, and sometimes those agents don't want to hear from that person over and over and over again. Ticket creation is the next one. That's, traditionally, like, of course, we can automatically convert to a case. That's no big deal, right? We do it on specific business rules. Well, now with AI and Gen AI, we can just take that to the next level, right? They can look at conversations and wait until you see some of the agentic capability that's coming out and what can be done in creating cases. The AI, the call routing, that's the other big thing that came with Nuance and IVR. The smarts that we now have within contact center, and I'm going to skip just for the sake of time, go quickly to this diagram showing, as CRM practitioners, we really need to become familiar with all of these channels and how people are interacting with bots, understanding the design around the interaction with the bot, understanding how that bot can help do automatic case creation because it's detected some sentiment, or identifying which type of person it needs to be directed to, which is the last point here. All of these being put together to drive the agent satisfaction, first-time resolution, and customer satisfaction, ultimately driving up service level, the service level. So it's an important thing for us to start learning more about. My practice, myself personally, would have always, the CTI is going to be handled by somebody else. It's going to be handled by a telephony firm. Somebody's going to program the ACD. We might have some interaction. We're going to get a screen pop. The world is changing as we speak. Okay, I have another video here. It's not going to, it's not going to be good to run it. It's showing here how we're interacting from a bot perspective, and how the language can again, we talked about the language earlier, so it's a good video. I'll see if I can send it in a link somehow to you. It's embedded in this presentation.
We see a customer So let
on. Yeah,
You hear the
again,
video.
did you hear the
Video
last one?
At least I did, yeah.
This one? Maybe it's embedded differently. All right, let's try it then.
We see a customer interacting on the chat channel. Traditional customer service chatbots can be frustrating.
Can you hear it?
Yep.
Yeah,
I can hear
I
it.
think it's coming in
Yeah.
through your microphone.
Oh, okay.
So we couldn't hear the music because the noise cancellation battled it, but the voices come through pretty clearly.
Okay, let's go back to that then, because it is an interesting video.
We see a customer interacting on the chat channel. Traditional customer service chatbots can be frustrating for anything beyond a simple FAQ. Here, however, the customer asks for help in natural language and Copilot immediately jumps in to help, asking a series of follow-up questions to both understand their intent and resolve their issue without ever escalating to a human agent. In this case, a custom plugin lets Copilot look up and provide real-time shipping information to the customer. If customers prefer engaging over voice, Copilot in IVRs is here to help. Here we see a customer interacting with one of those conversational IVRs on the voice channel.
Good morning, Pavel. Thanks for calling Northwind. I see you chatted with us about an order yesterday. Are you calling about that?
Yes. Can that order be expedited?
Just to confirm, would you like to expedite the order with a tracking number ending in 3377?
Yes.
I've expedited your order. It'll now be delivered in 2 business days instead of 5 business days. Is there anything else I can help you with?
If I do change my mind, how long do I have to return it?
For Trailmaster X4, the return period is 90 days. Is there anything else I could help you with?
Yes. I'd like to.
I want to stop it there for a second. Like, can you give me a thumbs up? Like, is this not cool to be interacting with a bot in this way? And, you know, I've seen the conversational AI people talk about, like, saying return it. How does it know what it is? How do I, you know, these are very, again, very routine things that agents would handle in the past. But, you know, now they can be free to do other things, do more investigation for clients, or as you're going to see here, the handoff to a live agent.
Increase the credit limit for my Northwind credit card.
Let me connect you with an agent for that.
When human assistance is required, our unified routing service matches the customer's intent with agent skills, finding the best person to help and avoiding misroutes. Here we see Dynamics 365 Contact Center can be embedded in a third-party CRM or custom app. In this experience, agents can not only have voice and digital conversations, but can also get access to AI-based real-time sentiment analysis, transcriptions, and translations. Copilot is there to support by summarizing the ongoing customer conversation and finding information from the knowledge base to help resolve the case faster. For those agents who would prefer to work outside of their CRM agent desktop, Dynamics 365 Contact Center also includes the standalone experience with even more enhanced Copilot capabilities such as timeline highlights. For supervisors, Dynamics 365 Contact Center provides a rich set of omnichannel analytics to further optimize contact center operations.
All right. I'm going to move through these slides quickly, and this is just showing you from an agent perspective how it's immersive. Single pane of glass, of course, is important, being able to extend with Power Platform. This one over here, again, if you're trying to sell this to a client, if they're already Teams-based, makes it really easy. If they need to do swarming, we have that. And you can use Teams, or you're going to see Teams coming, you know, as an option for first-party voice. So that'll be really interesting when we see that at some point in the future. And this, again, another example of showing you how it looks in Salesforce versus how it works with Dynamics, or as Dynamics. Some detail. I'm just going to run out of time here, so I'm going to go through these. There's just some updates on all the places that AI is embedded within the agent desktop. So you'll see that here. And this is even within Salesforce, it's being able to embed, and it's context specific. So when we look on the next slide here, it shows us that Copilot is using the host CRM, and first party means Dynamics. Third party is, think of Salesforce or ServiceNow. But it's able to do all of what it needs to do, Copilot in Contact Center, using the host CRM. It doesn't have to be within the Dynamics Contact Center. And this is a bit of a deep dive on unified routing. I'm just going to, we sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, so I'm going to skip through these slides to get to the end. I'm sorry, I have a hard stop at the top of the hour. And then again, this is really interesting. I didn't talk about this, how it can, clients ask about this a lot, right? If I don't have enough agents in one queue, how does Copilot handle that? And or unified routing rather, can switch queues and make sure that it's getting the customer to an agent as fast as possible with the agent that will be able to have the most likeliness to solve their problem. So there's load balancing. You can send it to voicemail. You can hold their position in queue. And if you wanted to do a customization, you could schedule a callback. Some really interesting things, again, from a supervisor perspective, the types of things that they can do. Again, we're with Dataverse, we're building the centralized data repository to serve up assistance to supervisors and agents. So is it real? Microsoft uses it themselves. I have a video, but we're not going to have time to see it. I'm just going to skip right to the stats. So over 1 billion customers. I was on a call where Microsoft Service presented this to one of our prospective clients, and they had an agent on talking about what it was like to start to use Copilot. It wasn't great initially, but Microsoft did a lot of work to work on cleaning up their knowledge base, and I want to talk about that shortly. But they have, when it says tens of thousands of agents, the stat they quoted was like 45,000 agents running. Like, you think they support all of their product lines, both B2C, B2B, Xbox, Dynamics, Office, Azure. Like, every customer who's using any Microsoft product would be hitting one of these contact centers. So it definitely scales. This is another story about scale, a client of Avanad's, retailer in the gifting industry. And you can see here, I think when I last spoke about this, it was going live in the fall. Well, they made it through Black Friday with flying colors, like no problem. The Microsoft's, and it displaced Genesis Cloud. And the client recently spoke on stage at NRF talking about how great their Dynamics contact center solution is. So it definitely scales. And I'm going to skip this one. And I really want to get to this one. If you've looked or followed Ignite at all, they announced 3 agentic capabilities within the contact center. One is case summaries and creating cases. One is intent, like direction, choosing what an intent is and directing it to the right person. And then the last one is on the knowledge base. And I just want to run, hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Oh, this is when I have to go to YouTube. Just a second. Let me go there. I had it open before, but it's probably closed now. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to move to this slide. So you can read here about what we can do for knowledge management. Stop sharing. So you're not going to be able to read for a second. Let me just get this YouTube video up. There we go. Reshare. See if I can share this one with screen. Still doesn't let me share with audio. Nope. Can you see YouTube?
Yeah, looks good.
Can you hear that?
Negative.
Okay. You know what? I'll just put the YouTube.
Drop the link in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to stop sharing again. Yeah, we got a few minutes.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I know you want to wrap up.
So, contact center is continuously evolving. Please get yourselves acquainted with this agentic capability, particularly the knowledge base. We speak a lot about AI, and we talk about if the data you have isn't in a very good state of affairs, then you're going to get hallucinations. So I think clients are getting very educated on that. But what's happening is they're becoming resistant to using Copilot. They don't want to spend the time to clean up. It can be a heavy lift for them. So trying to help them understand how this agentic capability is at the very least going to help them add new and keep things clean. We have other tools we can use in AI or use AI for to help them do cleaning and help them understand confidence around the knowledge articles that they're looking at. But yeah, if you could spend some time looking at the knowledge management agentic capability, I think that'll help you in the conversations you have with clients. Even if you're an internal client and you're trying to help your business understand how this might help you, it's really something amazing that's coming our way. So I'll stop there and take any questions in the last couple of minutes.
I have a quick one. I don't. There might be others in chat, but because I'm off mute, I'll just ask my question. What do you think an organization needs in terms of a team to support all of this, right? So I watch all of this and I'm like, it's a lot. It's incredible stuff, but it's not for, we deal with organizations of all sizes, some enterprise and some very small. This is obviously far too mature for some organizations. What is your perspective on what an organization needs in place to manage all of this in terms of a body, like people?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on the size of the contact center, right? Like we have 45 people, even 20 people contact centers starting to look at this because they can manage it with, an administrator, just like they do today. Like it's not really, if anything, it's going to be less than what they have today in terms of administrating. Right, but you do have to pay. Like if you want to use the agentic and the Copilot capabilities, then I mean it's a low code option, which inherently means you're going to spend a little bit more on licensing, but you might spend less on people.
Right. Interesting. That's great answer.
It depends.
Yep. Yeah. Fair enough. You speak my language. Yeah. No, that's a good answer. It makes sense. It's just, I think it's overwhelming for people when they see all these things. They're like, oh, I don't even know where to begin. And I mean, we're big believers in having a plan and a roadmap and kind of charting your path and iterative design, V1, V2, V3. And so I had a
whole series of slides in here on implementation process. So I can share the full deck because it talks about that. I mean, it's iterative, it's agile, it's, get the right pieces and get the MVP out there and then, add.
Yes, totally agree. I know it's right at the top of the hour, Nancie. So I know you had to hard stop.
Okay. Thanks all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Nancie. That was great. That was a great overview. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
Nancie.
So for those of you on the call, I mean, let's take a few minutes. If others have a hard stop at 2, by all means, or whatever time it is, wherever you are, by all means, you're welcome to drop. But any other discussion points? I mean, the presenter's gone, but any conversational elements that people want to dig into on that whole topic before we move on? Don't talk all at once.
Nothing particular. It was a great presentation.
Yeah, it was. It's a good overview. It's a lot.
Getting it all set up.
I'm Malcolm. It's Glenn.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, haven't been participating much lately, but been around for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm actually on the Avanade team as well right now. Although I'm working on the delivery side, so I've been on the client project for quite some time. So, but I'm also been appointed to the Avanade Microsoft Copilot test team.
Okay.
Which maybe sounds like a bit of an honor, but there's probably about 200 of us on this on this team.
Wow.
So, but we have regular meetings where we compare ideas that people have got and how they're handling them, and not so much, but a little bit of client stuff, but which sometimes we can't share. But also, it's about how we're trying to use Copilot in many innovative ways, and not just customer service. I guess it's across the board. And because I'm on the delivery side, I'm full time. Sometimes I don't have enough time to keep up. But that what Nancie mentioned about the two Copilot versions there was actually news to me. I wasn't really aware of that. So that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to introduce myself in this because I've got the vehicle to actually experiment and try different things. So if anyone has anything interesting that they're not sure how to get it accomplished with Copilot, they can let me know. And I certainly may not know, but I can throw out to our broad team, and someone will pick it up and want to experiment and play around and hopefully find a solution for it. So
yeah, that's a great
just let me know. Yeah.
We use it as well, and we dabble in different ways. One of the things that I do a lot of BA work, and so attending a lot of requirements calls, and I've been using Copilot to help summarize what we're hearing, and even we use like whiteboard style tools, and taking snapshots of that and feeding that into it and having it kind of synthesize and look at it through a different lens. And so we do our analysis, and then we compare and contrast against what did the AI see, and the number of times that it pulls things out that we're like, oh, we never thought of it that way, we never even looked at that. It's phenomenal. Like it just helps open your eyes. There's also this, I'll post because we stole this from, well, we didn't steal it. That person said, like, yeah, here's what we do, and feel free to share it. I'm going to take one part out of it, but actually, no, I don't need to take anything out of it.
Just someone just posted, some GitHub examples here.
Yeah, as a place here. This I'm going to post in the chat right now. This is the prompt that we started using for meeting summaries. So after any call, we post that, and it's long, but it blows my mind the information you get out of it from that, and we've tailored it to us, so it's specifically calls out, hey, when you're breaking down the attendees in a meeting, tell us like break it down by C5 employees and customer. And it's not perfect by any means. It often will lump people in as like, oh, we think that person works here, not there. But it's just it's amazing what it gives us. So by all means, feel free to copy that and toy with it and play with it. And it's been wildly helpful. Start generating all kinds of great stuff.
Yeah, and I have to drop as well too, as a matter of fact. So.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Well, have a great afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining, and stay tuned for next month. We're looking forward to seeing you again then.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Malcolm. Appreciate it. Take care.
My pleasure, Will. Talk to you soon.